everyone. You are watching BVM Sports Chalk Talk, episode number 15, the Super Bowl edition. I'm Lucas Semb here with Scott Procter and Matt Morris. One of the biggest events of the year is right around the corner, so we'll be debating some trending questions surrounding the matchup between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, but also talking about the offseason trade involving Matt Stafford and Jared Goff. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Episode number 15, Scott. If the Chiefs beat the Buccaneers on Sunday, Patrick Mahomes will become the youngest QB ever at 25 years old to win back-to-back Super Bowls, beating the great Tom Brady's record, which is currently at 26 years old. Does that put Mahomes on track to be the greatest of all time?
Yeah, so listen, for the sake of parity, we haven't discussed the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes a ton a season on this show, or at least as much as I think they've warranted. But now I can brag about the generational talent that we're witnessing and tell you why Patrick Mahomes would be on track to be widely regarded as the greatest of all time with the Super Bowl 55 victory. First off, Tom Brady, as you mentioned, Luke, is the rightful owner of that title. And, you know, even I said a couple weeks ago that Tom Brady has the most to gain with the Super Bowl this season. He could dead or end all GOAT debate with a win on Sunday. But let's not forget that Tom Brady began his career as a game manager who leaned on his always elite defense and coaching and just came up big in big moments. Brady didn't even have a 30-touchdown pass season until year 7 when Randy Moss came to town. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes' first season as a starter came with 50 passing touchdowns. You know,
isn't coming up big in the big moments what it's all about, though?
Hey, if you let me finish, I could definitely get to that. With that being said, we all recognize Tom is the GOAT because of his knack to find a way to win big games on the biggest stage. We just seen it recently. Tom Brady doesn't flinch early. He's on the road in frigid Lambeau Field, the NFC Championship game, or in the Super Bowl down 21-3. But Mahomes, to your point, Luke, has already showed us that he has that super clutch gene too, along with being significantly more talented. As great as Patrick is during the regular season, and it cannot be understated how great he is during the regular season, where he has 6 fourth-quarter comebacks and 7 game-winning drives, he's even better in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes has a 17-2 touchdown interception ratio. His passer rating even jumps 1 point to 110, and he's 6-1 in the playoffs with his only loss coming to Tom Brady in an AFC Championship game where he didn't even touch the ball in overtime. Again, back to this Brady and Mahomes GOAT comparison, Patrick Mahomes has 21 touchdowns in his first 7 career playoff starts. Brady had 9 in his first 7. So to answer your question, the Chiefs can win, which I fully expect them to do, considering I picked them to win it all in the preseason. Patrick would have made 3 Pro Bowls, won an MVP, 2 Super Bowls, and 2 Super Bowl MVPs while leading his team to a 38-8 regular season record. After this 3 seasons as a starter, I'll repeat again, it'll be an uphill battle to catch Tom Brady, but Patrick Mahomes will officially be on track to be recognized as the GOAT after Sunday night.
I mean, Scott, I have to agree with everything you just said, and I'm just going to take the baton from you and finish this race. Patrick Mahomes is clearly the next heir apparent until someone else proves us wrong, proves everyone wrong. The reason we haven't talked about Kansas City at all this season is because it's just, you know, a fact. The sky is blue. I have to pay my taxes this year. Kansas City is going to be in the AFC title game when it's all said and done. Like, that's just what happens. And so you want to talk about other things because you know Kansas City and Pat Mahomes are going to be there. That's how great he is. And to the point of, you know, Brady having that clutch factor, one of those moments where Brady was clutch was in that overtime game against Patrick Mahomes. The only reason Brady got the clutch chance is because Mahomes was denied that opportunity in overtime.
Hey, and another thing, also with that, Matt, going back to the AFC Championship game where Tom Brady and the Patriots beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in Mahomes' first season as a starter, if it wasn't for a pre-snap penalty on a play where Tom Brady threw an interception to win the game, Patrick Mahomes would be working on a 3-peat right now. That's just unfathomable. But go ahead.
Not only that,
we could talk about hypotheticals all day long. We could talk about hypotheticals all day long.
It's currently what we're doing. We're talking about if he could become the GOAT. That's literally a hypothetical.
It is a hypothetical. And we're saying that he's going to win on Sunday, which I think he will. And he's going to have 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, a 50-touchdown season already, and a regular season MVP. And had Aaron Rodgers not had the season he had this year, he probably would have won back-to-back MVPs as well. Pat Mahomes is completely on the right trajectory, not only to get to Brady's level, but surpass Brady with his greatness. And it's just so unbelievable to watch a guy like Patrick Mahomes at such a young age be that dominant of a player and someone that really changes the game for everyone around him. I mean, you could talk about Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all the great weapons, Andy Reid's offense. But at the end of the day, that is built entirely around what Patrick Mahomes can do. There aren't a lot of other quarterbacks that can do what he does. And that's why he's great. That's why he's going to continue to be great. And that's why Patrick Mahomes will eventually surpass Tom Brady and be the GOAT of the NFL.
Okay, for sure. I understand what you guys are saying about being on the right track. But for me, I'm going to have to say no. Using the term on track in sports to me is just kind of a weird thing. I don't like to use that phrase. I don't like it. Just because he will I'm going to explain that. Dang, I got a sentence in, my guy. Just because he might have 2 Super Bowls by the age of 25 doesn't mean he's on track to continue winning them at that pace. He could get hurt. He could end up on a bad team. His game could trail off at a faster age. There's so many unknowns in the sports world. And that's why I don't like to use the term on track. Brady has surpassed all of those what ifs in his career. He even got injured and won 3 afterwards, after an ACL tear and an MCL tear. These are the reasons that we call him a GOAT. Honestly, I look at it this way. The only reason that anyone would have to give for Brady not being the GOAT would be chalking up the credit to the Patriot system and Bill Belichick. That's why winning the Super Bowl this year, Scott, as you had said, is huge for him. But let's look at Patrick Mahomes. One day will people look back at him and say the same thing. He's playing for Andy Reid. He's playing for Eric Bieniemy. He has Tyreek Hill. So outside of anyone's opinion, for me, it just comes down to the rings. Brady has 6 of those things and the chance for another. I think Mahomes has already solidified himself as an all-time great based on skill alone and his early accomplishments, but I wouldn't say he's on track for anything. It's almost disrespectful to Tom Brady, everything he's been through in his career and the success he's had, to say someone's on track to already be better.
It's not disrespectful
at the age of 25.
It's not disrespectful because at age 25, Tom Brady couldn't even imagine doing the things that Patrick Mahomes has already done. He hasn't had the individual or team success that Patrick Mahomes has done at an already younger age.
Not only that, it's just recognizing great talent. It's, LeBron James at 18 being called the chosen one and the one to surpass Jordan. When you see greatness and you
and now we're 20 years later, and LeBron James was the chosen one. He was. It came true, but LeBron James had to go through all those what-ifs in his career too. And that's why he's in the debate with Michael Jordan to be a GOAT. So if Mahomes, if he can surpass all those, he stays on the Chiefs, he keeps winning Super Bowls, he stays healthy, his game, he has longevity like Brady does. If those types of things happen, then I'll be sure to call him that. I'll be sure to call him the GOAT. But right now, all we know is that he has a great reputation. If he evades all those obstacles, like I previously mentioned, and continues to win, one day we can call him that. But, right now, all I'm going to say is that he's a great player. He is a generational talent, but I'm never going to say someone's on track to be better than the greatest of all time. And I'm just going to sound off on that. Now, no one had anything to say. So aside from QBs, somebody else on these teams will have to step up for them to take home the Lombardi Trophy. Matt, who do you think will be the biggest non-QB X factor on Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm going to go on defense, and I'm going to go with the Honey Badger. Tyrann Mathieu has been elite for Kansas City since he came there, and he's been unbelievable this entire time. And listen, he leads safeties currently with 11 total interceptions since he's been on Kansas City. 4 last year, 6 during the regular season this year, including one against Tom Brady and Tampa Bay, and then he had one in the postseason already as well. He has been elite. He is the difference maker on that defense. He is the leader of that secondary. He's the reason, guys like L'Jarius Sneed say that he's a big brother to them. They look up to him. He has just been unbelievable for Kansas City. And, Tom Brady is coming off a game where he threw 3 terrible interceptions that were totally his fault. It wasn't that the defense confused him or it was a rushed play. It was purely Tom Brady had bad throws. And the Honey Badger is going to be that guy that is going to take advantage of those mistakes. And when Brady makes mistakes, you have to take advantage of them. So,
I agree with you, Matt. I think another thing that Tyrann Mathieu is really good at is getting into the backfield. So not only is he going to take advantage of the mistakes by Brady's throws that he just tosses up when he's getting pressured, but Matthew's going to cause those pressures. He has an innate ability to get in the backfield, and he's going to make Brady really have to work for it on Sunday.
Oh, he absolutely does. Not just pressuring the quarterback, but helping stop the run game at the line of scrimmage. He's going up against a guy that he knows very well in Leonard Fournette. And not only that, but Kansas City is has the second lowest completion rate percentage allowed to deep passes, 10-plus yards or more. And that's what Bruce Arians and Tom Brady like to do. They like to throw the ball deep. And if you're going to throw the ball deep, the Honey Badger is going to make you pay because he is that good of a player and he's that big of a game changer where if he has a great game, it's almost a done deal that Kansas City is going to win. And I have no doubt that you're going to see his name in the stat sheet with at least one either fumble recovery or an interception.
Yeah, man, that's a wonderful pick. Tyrann Mathieu I love his game. He's probably a guy that I'll mention a little bit later. And I'd probably be willing to play some money on the fact that he gets his hand on a football or somehow comes up with a turnover.
40-1 odds.
Yeah, that's about right. And I'm going to stay right there on that side of the ball for the Kansas City Chiefs. And talk about Chris Jones, who is one of the most criminally underrated players in the NFL and will be a massive factor in Sunday's outcome. And when I say underrated, I really mean by the national media at large, because he was voted number 36 on the list of top 100 players of 2019, which just tells you how respected he is by his peers. Collectively, players thought only 35 guys across the entire league were better than Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a game wrecker, typically lined up right over your center or guard, who applies immense pressure on the quarterback right at the point of attack. His 7.5 sacks don't really jump off the page, especially considering he had 15 and a half in 2018. But he's top 3 in quarterback knockdowns and top 3 in quarterback pressures. I've said it all year. What has been Tampa Bay's bugaboo? And Matt, you touched on it a bit. How do you get the most accomplished quarterback of all time off his game at 43 years old? You get a consistent pass rush and force Tom Brady to throw the ball before he wants to, and before those receivers and Bruce Arians' air raid offense can get down the field on you. I'm confident in Kansas City secondary, led by, the Honey Badger, Daniel Sorensen, Snead, Breeland, Fenton. I love that unit. They're going to come up with plays and force Tom Brady into mistakes that he doesn't want to make. So Chris Jones and his ability to impact Tampa Bay's most important player makes him the X factor that I'm looking at on Sunday for the Kansas City Chiefs, defensively at least.
Sure, and both of you guys, I like your picks, but I'm going to flip to the offensive side of the ball. I think the biggest non-QB in this matchup is going to have to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think this year he definitely underachieved, at least based on what I thought he was going to be this year, and probably a lot of others. About 800 yards and 4 touchdowns, pretty modest for a first-round running back draft pick. But this game is where he can show that he'll be in the league for a long time. No better time than now to have one of your most impactful games of the year. As we all know, the Chiefs' offensive line has been totally depleted this year, and now with the bad news of Eric Fisher out with a torn Achilles, they will be without 3 of their 5 starting linemen for the Super Bowl. But the past couple of weeks, they've played great football throughout the playoffs. However, they haven't faced anything like the Bucs. Pass rush, Shaquille Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, they're going to be coming hot and heavy. We know Mahomes can scramble and make wild passes, and we know they can do that. In this game, they're going to have to be more than that, though. They're going to need CEH to break some runs. They're going to need him to make himself available for dump-off passes. They're going to need him to put his body on the line. If they're playing with a depleted offensive line, if someone breaks through like Chris Jones, like you mentioned, Scott, he's going to have to get in there and make a block. That's something that they're going to have to expect out of their running back. And this is a game for him where he has a big opportunity to step up and make a difference, because what he does in this game could be all the difference. My guy Dan Orlovsky feels the same way. He said he's going to win the Super Bowl MVP with over 150 yards. I won't take it that far, but he's definitely going to need to have a good game for them to win the Super Bowl and take it home.
So, Luke, you're picking Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I admit obviously is a talented player who's shown a ton of promise early on in his career as a rookie. But are you just choosing to ignore that Tampa Bay had the best rush defense during the regular season? They only gave up 80 yards per game on the ground, the actual number 1 rush defense. And you just mentioned the Chiefs are going to be without linemen. So I'll give you one better. I'll give you 2 X factors better than your one. Both the Chiefs' offensive tackles are out, which we both have highlighted, which means they'll count on backups to protect Mahomes and give Clyde Edwards-Helaire some room to run, especially protecting against Tampa Bay's valid pass rush, JPP, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea now back in the lineup.
Well, hey, this is what I just mentioned. I just mentioned all 4 of those guys' names. I mentioned how they're
let me get to this X factor that's better than your Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'll give you 2 up to your 1. One of those backups is going to be Mike Remmers, who you might remember from Super Bowl 50. Mike Remmers played right tackle for the Carolina Panthers and surrendered 3 sacks, including 2 strip sacks and an additional 7 pressures against the Denver Broncos, which basically lost the Super Bowl. Mike Remmers is essentially the reason Von Miller won Super Bowl MVP. Remmers says he isn't the same player he was 5 years ago that he is today. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Eric Bieniemy, they better damn hope so, because if we hear Mike Remmers' name more than a couple times on Sunday, it's going to be bad news Chiefs for Kansas City Chiefs fans. So he's the X factor if you're looking at the Kansas City offense, even more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire is.
Right. For me, and that's why I understand what you're saying. But for me, that's why I'm saying it's going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's going to have to make something out of nothing. There's going to be times where that comes up and he's going to make himself available for a dump off pass and take it 50 yards or break a run when a hole gets collapsed. He's going to have to bounce it outside and take it. He's going to have to make plays happen because the Kansas City Chiefs cannot be a one-trick pony against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense.
I think they can. I think that's absolutely wrong. They can absolutely be a one-trick pony. If your one trick is Patrick Mahomes throwing to Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill, I think it's completely unfair to count on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a rookie, by the way, in a big way in a Super Bowl against the number one rush defense of the NFL and without, 2 or 3 of your best offensive linemen. That's a lot to ask.
Yeah,
we don't talk about
point, we've been talking a lot about the Chiefs this segment. I think we've mentioned names on Tampa Bay, and I'm going to go with another X factor for Tampa Bay. To your point, Scott and Luke, Kansas City is missing linemen. Shaq Barrett destroyed the Green Bay Packers and their offensive line, which at least I thought was one of the best in the league. If Shaq Barrett comes in and does what he did against the Green Bay Packers, it's going to be tough for Kansas City and that offense to get anything done because Mahomes will be scrambling the entire time. The next step is Shaq Barrett actually has to grab Mahomes and get him down, which doesn't seem like it's been able to happen a lot. But Shaq Barrett is a guy that we have to give credit to, and he's going to be the X factor, I think, for Tampa Bay if we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay side of things and if they have a chance to win.
Right, Matt, I would agree with you. Scott said they can be a one-trick pony. I don't think so because we don't talk about this Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary enough. Antoine Winfield Jr., an unbelievable rookie season. Carlton Davis, and then Devin White is awesome in the pass coverage. These are guys who are going to have to make it difficult on Mahomes, and I think they're going to. That's why they're going to need someone else to open things up for them. But, hey, this is the first time in NFL history that the host team will actually be participating in the Super Bowl. Scott, sound off on your score prediction and why.
Yeah, I think I've kind of covered it a bit. We're witnessing something special and historical with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs right now, and I hope people realize that. And more than that, I think we'll get a reminder of that on Sunday night. Tampa Bay Bucs' only path to a victory on Sunday, really, and in my opinion, is to do the impossible, and that's to outgun Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and all those offensive weapons that they have. It's going to be a tall task, especially for Tom Brady. He's loaded. He has plenty. He has no shortage of weapons himself. He is the current GOAT of all time, talking about Tom Brady. But we're witnessing such a show in Kansas City that we're going to be telling our children about it. And, with all that being said, I like the Chiefs to prevail in Super Bowl 55 over the Tampa Bay Bucs, 34-23.
Listen, I love what Tampa Bay has done. I think it's great to see an exciting team come in, add Tom Brady, and just take it to the next level. I like Bruce Arians. I like Todd Bowles. I like what they have down there. But at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City, Andy Reid, everything that there is down there at Arrowhead Stadium is going to be too much when it comes into Tampa. And at the end of the day, it's going to be 35-30 Kansas City. And, Mahomes is continuing on his, road to the GOAT.
Right. And I don't want to sound like a broken record. I'm just going to keep it simple. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think Tampa Bay will challenge them. One of the hardest challenges they've probably seen all year long. But I got Tampa Bay winning. I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning 31-21 over the Buccaneers. Myself, like most of America, very excited about the Super Bowl on Sunday, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. But there are other things going on in the NFL world besides it. Recently, the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams made somewhat of a blockbuster trade. The Rams receiving Matthew Stafford and the Lions getting Jared Goff plus picks. Matt, do you like this trade? And do you think that it was the right landing spot for Stafford?
You know what? I love this trade, not just for Stafford, but for everyone involved. I think Jared Goff needed to leave. Obviously, he wasn't wanted there. I don't think McVay wanted him leading the offense anymore. I don't think Goff really felt like he was wanted. I think him coming into Detroit, obviously, I don't think he's their franchise guy, but he at least gets the chance to lead a team during a rebuild and gives Detroit time to find their new franchise quarterback that will lead them into the future after Goff. For LA, it is basically them saying, we are going to win this either next season or the season after that with Matthew Stafford because they have given up a lot to set this team up to be successful right now. And for Matthew Stafford, I mean, this is a dream come true towards the end of your career. I don't think since he was at Georgia, has he had a team as complete as what he's stepping into with the LA Rams. It's a good offensive line. They actually have a run game. They have a defense. They have a great coach in Sean McVay and an offensive guru. I mean, this is the best team Matthew Stafford has ever played on. And not only, obviously he played with Megatron, which it doesn't get any better than Megatron. But he has Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods now, a solid run game. This is unbelievable. And I'm excited to see what Stafford can do. And if I was Stafford, I'd be, elated.
Similar thinking here, man. I love this trade for Matthew Stafford. First and foremost, he gets his freedom papers from the awful and woeful Detroit Lions after they killed the careers of Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. They're currently trying to do to my boy Kenny Galladay. I hope he exercises his free agency here soon. Matt Stafford is an above-average, fringe, elite-level quarterback who, despite an 0-3 career playoff record, the man has engineered 31 comebacks and 38 game-winning drives. Even Aaron Rodgers earlier this season praised Stafford's arm talent and his ability to make some of those ridiculous sidearm, weird angle throws that are now synonymous with Patrick Mahomes. Stafford is a clear upgrade over Jared Goff, who Sean McVay obviously wanted to part ways with since he led the Rams to 3 points in the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. And if you paid attention to Sean McVay's comments after games, and particularly where Jared Goff doesn't play well, he's kind of subliminally told the media how he's felt about Jared Goff for some time now. And Sean McVay is kind of where I want to go here because Max Kellerman has a mantra that he uses often and is absolutely true in my eyes. The NBA is a players' league. Top of the players have the most impact on the game. They can affect the game most at an individual level than other sports. MLB is a GM's league with so many moving parts, rotations, lineups, and whatnot. The GM has to be the one to really construct a great team. And the NFL is a coaches league. Look at the best coaches. We look at Bill Belichick. The best teams at the end of the year typically have the best coaches. We're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and the dynasty that they're forming, led by one of the greatest coaches of all time. So back to the point. It's part of the reason I gave Matt LaFleur a ton of credit, even for Green Bay's successes this season, and a lot of the blame when his team fell short. Sean McVay is one of the brightest young offensive minds in football, and just 2 years removed from a Super Bowl appearance with Jared Goff, yes, Jared Goff as his starter. And although the Rams are placing a significant bet on Stafford, essentially mortgaging their future with Matt alluded to not having a first-round pick until 2024 now, I think this was partly Sean McVay betting on himself. He's betting on the fact that with a championship-level defense already in play, led by Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, just nasty, offensive weapons like Cooper Kupp, Rob Woods, a solid running game that McVay can scheme up, and now an elite quarterback in Matthew Stafford, fringe elite quarterback, Sean McVay is the one who can lead the Rams to Super Bowl win the next 2 years. That's what he's betting on. That's what him and GM Les Snead are betting on. Not so much Matthew Stafford at 33 years old, but Sean McVay, because if not, and you end up with a washed-up, old Matt Stafford wasting away an all-time defense and no first-rounders of your own to speak of, that 2024 first-round pick will be selected by a new regime.
Absolutely. Hey, like Stephen A. Smith once said about Kwame Brown and the Lakers trading Kwame Brown, if you're trading first-round picks and you're a contending team, it really doesn't matter.
Doesn't mean much.
It really doesn't. And that's, that's why I like this trade for both sides. I'll start with Detroit. I think they really maximize Stafford's value. They got a first-round pick, a second-round pick. They got Goff. And, this trade isn't going to put them in the playoffs next year or anything, but it gives Goff, a mid-20s QB who started in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, a fresh start. The Rams are obviously soured on him. And if he doesn't end up working out, they have those picks to make up for it and draft their QB of the future. The Lions got a right now option plus a backup plan. And, I think they really took control of the trade in that aspect, but I think the Rams are the big winners. Matt Stafford is so good and so underrated. Tyrann Mathieu said he's underrated. Aaron Rodgers, like you said, Scott, he comes on the Pat McAfee show, sings Stafford's praises. He can throw the sidearm passes. He's tough as nails. He gets the ball in the end zone. Since 2019, his deep ball rate is 17%. That's second in the entire NFL. This past season, his passer rating under pressure was a 91.8, second in the NFL behind rookie Justin Herbert. These stats and his skills are just so underappreciated because he was wasting away in Detroit. Now you put him alongside Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Josh Reynolds, Big Tyler Higbee, and their elite defense, they become an elite team. In my honest opinion, this makes them the front runner in the entire NFC. No team in the NFC besides the Buccaneers, who are currently preparing for the Super Bowl, have the weapons. Have the weapons on both sides like the Rams do. And, and their coach, like you guys both mentioned, Sean McVay, he isn't too shabby either. I think the Rams out of the NFC next year. And I want to pose the same question to you guys since I gave my opinion. Are the Rams now a top NFC contender? Matt?
No, I have a question for you, sir. How exactly are the LA Rams already better than the Green Bay Packers? We just saw the Green Bay Packers dismantle the LA Rams, the Jared Goff-led LA Rams in the divisional round fairly easily. I understand, and I think we all agree that Matthew Stafford is an upgrade from Jared Goff, but I don't think he's moving the needle that much at the quarterback position to where they're better than the Green Bay Packers, who will probably lose some offensive pieces, maybe a receiver who's obviously not named Devontae Adams. But for the most part, that Green Bay Packers team and offense is going to look the same. And number 12 is more than likely going to be under center. I don't see a possibility. As much as I like this trade for Matthew Stafford and the Rams, they're still a top 4 team in the NFC, as they just showed us. But better than the Packers, better than Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers? Hell no.
No, and you know what? I'll take it from you, Scott, and I'll continue that. Did the LA Rams get better? Absolutely. They were a 10-6 team this year, made it to the playoffs, lost in the wild card round. I think that if Matthew Stafford
they won a playoff game in the wild card round. They lost.
Right. They won the playoff game against the Seahawks, but then they lose to the Packers in the divisional round. Do I think that they're better with Stafford? Absolutely. They probably win 3, maybe 4 more games this year if Stafford is there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you think they're beating the Packers with Stafford behind center in that playoff game?
No, I
The
don't.
sole reason they lost that game was because of Goff.
No, it wasn't.
Absolutely. It was a close game, and he just couldn't move the ball.
No, it wasn't. It was because the Packers were just a better team. And not only that, but Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur called a better offensive game and out-schemed that talented Rams defense. I mean, we've talked about it on this show. There was the perfect play was putting Devontae Adams into motion when Jalen Ramsey was trying to man mark him at the goal line and literally making Ramsey have to run through his entire team.
Devontae Adams was basically having his way. Devontae Adams was basically having his way against that vaunted Rams defense. That didn't have a damn thing to do with Jared Goff. So.
The Rams adding Stafford makes them a top 3 team in the NFC, but they are not ahead of the other 2 teams that are up there, which are the Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are top 3. I would put them ahead of Seattle, and I'd put them ahead of the Saints right now.
Absolutely.
They're not ahead of the Packers and Tampa Bay. No.
But Scott, you had mentioned what if the Rams end up getting a washed Jared Goff or a washed Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford hasn't shown any signs of regressing, not a one. So to say that he might come
I'm not saying he has.
To say he might come there and be washed up, that just doesn't even seem reasonable. And another big player you forgot that the Packers might be losing is Aaron Jones.
He's going to be washed up.
Aaron Jones has built a reputation for himself in the past, 3 years as one of the better running backs in the NFL. And if you're going to act like that doesn't open things up for Devontae Adams or the other Packers wide receivers, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, second in the league with the most 40-yard plus touchdown passes at 4.
So what are you saying?
You're really downplaying these pieces that they're going to be losing. Their entire offense is going to look different. And their defense is nowhere near what the Rams have. The Rams are the best 2 defensive players in the NFL. And they did what they could against this Packers team.
So you're working under the assumption that Aaron Jones is gone.
A team's only as good as their quarterback. And with Jared Goff behind center with all those weapons, it's just not going to work. So get Stafford in there. They're taking the NFC. You can't change my mind.
Luke, listen to what you just said. And let me
okay, I know what you're going to say. Teams only as good. No,
you're only good as your quarterback. So you're going to pick the Matthew Stafford quarterback over teams with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady?
Yes, I am.
You're as good as your quarterback.
I am because Matthew Stafford now has Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and Josh Reynolds.
I'm going to need you to stop saying Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp like those dudes are top 10 receivers in the NFL. I'm going to need you to stop that right now because those guys are nice pieces. We all admit that they're talented, and they're really more of a product of Sean McVay's offense than anything. But
no.
Well, then you know what? What? If we're going to talk about Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, give me Jair Alexander over both of those guys.
Bro, exactly. You're bringing these 2 guys up like they're top 10 receivers. Those guys aren't even the best receivers Matthew Stafford has ever thrown to in college or the pros. So I don't even know why you're saying that up like Matthew Stafford is walking into this situation where he has just some treasure trove of weapons that he just doesn't have. We all admit it's a great situation. The Rams
since 2013, Matthew Stafford second in the league with drop passes. What does that have to do with him? That's balls bouncing off a guy's hands. Outside of Kelvin Johnson, who do you ever have? Kenny G from St. Rita, whatever
Kenny
school you went
G,
to?
yes.
Who's injured half of the season? Who's injured half of every single season?
What do you mean every single season? He's been in the league for about 3 seasons. This was his only injury-riddled season.
That's plenty of sample size. And he's always hurt. He's the one guy who would have been able to help Stafford, and he hasn't.
And Kenny Golladay is better than Rob Woods and Cooper Kupp. So again, I don't even know why we're talking about this.
Listen,
he didn't get to throw to him. So here's my point.
Right.
He's going to be going and throwing to Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, and I can maybe think of 3 or 4 duos in the NFL that are better than them off the top of my head. To be completely honest.
Here's the point. Is at the end of the day, the LA Rams, as built, were a good team. They were fringe contenders, and they weren't good enough to beat the top teams in the NFC. They can't beat the Packers. They can't beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this year they probably wouldn't have beaten the Saints either.
And let's not forget, again, with the draft capital part, they don't have any first-round draft picks. This team is as thin as paper. We saw in the playoffs when Aaron Donald gets nicked up with not even a major injury and he can't be on the field. This Rams defense is completely different. They have no depth, especially on the defensive side, and they can't address that in the draft. They can't address that in free agency because
Scott, you got to pick a side. You got to pick a side, man. You just said in your take earlier that the Rams have an elite defense, and if he's not good, he's going to waste their defense.
We're not disagreeing.
No. I mentioned depth. I said if any of those top players get hurt, listen, it's a skill.
Listen, we're not saying that. What we're saying is we're not giving the LA Rams the NFC title yet. What we're saying now is that the addition of Matthew Stafford gives them a 50-50 chance. If Matthew Stafford led LA Rams go up against Green Bay or Tampa Bay in a playoff game next year, I'm not going to say like, oh, Packers are easily going to win. It's going to be 50-50. They have a better chance of winning now, but they are not the best team in the NFC. They are not.
The difference for me is that, in these games, they weren't getting blown out. They're all close games. They have elite offensive weapons.
Great defense.
And the only reason that they couldn't pull ahead is because Goff just couldn't move the ball down the field. You talk about McVay, one of the most brilliant young offensive minds in the league.
Correct.
Goff doesn't help that. You get Matthew Stafford in here, who has had some of the best players in the league say he's so underrated. You put him in that system, those really close losses turn into wins for the Rams.
Sounds like a hypothetical, and I know that's something you don't really like.
But you guys, no, exactly. You guys love talking about the hypotheticals. I can do it all day. I can do this all day long. But, hey.
Packers beat the Rams 2 touchdowns. Stafford does not make them 2 touchdowns better than the Packers.
All right. Hey, before we have to get to see how these predictions pan out, we first need to get through this season. The stage is set. Sunday night, Buccaneers, Chiefs, Brady, Mahomes, Reed versus Arians, and we can't wait. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we will see you here next week. For myself, Scott Procter, and Matt Morris, this has been Chalk.